Everyone tells you to avoid beta behavior. Don't be needy. Don't be weak. Don't over-explain. So I did the opposite. I watched 50 hours of men who openly display these traits. Guys who cry on camera, who share insecurities, who ask for help. And I found something Machiavelli would recognize. Some of them have more real power than the alphas. Here's why. Machiavelli said, "It's better to be feared than loved." But he also said, "The wise man does what is necessary." What if vulnerability in 2025 is what's necessary? Not because it's virtuous, but because it's strategically underutilized. I'm about to say something that will piss off half this community. The alpha male strategy is dead, and the men you've been told to avoid? Some of them are quietly winning. I spent 50 hours analyzing this. 100 creators, hard data, retention rates, revenue, audience loyalty, and I found something Machiavelli would immediately recognize. Strategic vulnerability is the new weapon. Here's the proof. First, let's be clear about something. The alpha male archetype you see online. It's not Machiavellian. It's not even historically accurate. It's a marketing strategy that worked brilliantly in 2015. Back then, vulnerability was everywhere. Participation trophies. Everyone's a winner. Toxic positivity. Safe spaces dominating corporate culture and college campuses. So aggressive masculinity stood out. It was rare. It was shocking. It was the antidote people were desperate for. But here's what happened. That strategy got copied, and copied, and copied again. Now, every other video is a guy in a luxury car telling you to be high value, to never show weakness, to dominate every interaction, to ghost women, to cut off your family, to trust nobody. Machiavelli wrote about this in The Prince. What was once your advantage becomes your prison when everyone adopts it. The alpha posture is no longer differentiation. It's noise. It's the new background hum of the internet. I analyzed 100 creators in the masculine self-improvement space. 50 traditional alpha posturers. 50 who show strategic vulnerability. Here's what I measured. Average view duration. Comment-to-view ratio, subscriber loyalty, which is views per video versus subscriber count, revenue sustainability, sponsorship diversity, not just one-off crypto pump and dumps or sketchy course launches. The results shocked me, and they'll probably shock you too. The alpha group averaged 38% retention, high initial clicks. The thumbnails work, Ferraris and abs get eyeballs, but people drop off fast. Why? Because it's the same message. Over and over and over. Be strong. Never explain. Dominate. Stack money. Ignore women. After 3 minutes, there's no substance. It's performance art. It's entertainment, not education. Comment quality, mostly hype. Fire emojis. Let's go king. Respect. But no real discussion. No depth. No actual transformation happening. And here's the killer. Their audiences are disloyal. They jump to the next hype creator every single month, chasing the newest dopamine hit. The vulnerability group, 52% average retention, lower initial clicks. Their thumbnails are less flashy. No Lamborghinis, no shirtless photos, just faces and honest titles. But once people start watching, they stay. Why? Because they tell stories, real struggles, specific failures, recovery paths with actual steps. Comment quality, completely different. People share their own experiences, ask for genuine advice, build community, offer support to other commenters. And loyalty? These audiences stick around for years. They don't just watch, they invest emotionally in the creator's journey. So what's happening here? Is weakness actually strength? No, that's not what Machiavelli would say. The answer is more subtle and more powerful. And it requires understanding what vulnerability actually means in a strategic context. Machiavelli wrote that the wise prince does not choose methods based on morality, but on effectiveness in the current environment. Key phrase, current environment. In a world drowning in alpha posturing, what's effective? The opposite. But, and this is critical, not all vulnerability, strategic vulnerability. There's a massive difference that most people completely miss. Let me show you the difference. Weak vulnerability, complaining about current problems with no plan, seeking validation for insecurities, posting sad quotes on Instagram, asking am I good enough to strangers online, daily emotional roller coasters broadcast to the world, trauma dumping in comment sections, That's just weakness. Machiavelli would despise it. He'd see it as pathetic attention-seeking that degrades your position in any social hierarchy. Strategic vulnerability. Sharing past struggles you've overcome with clear timelines. Admitting specific failures with concrete lessons learned. Asking for help on particular technical problems, not emotional rescue. Showing emotion about universal experiences that everyone can relate to. Loss, betrayal, growth, fear. That's weaponized honesty. It's vulnerability with purpose, direction, and outcome. Let me give you a real example. Creator A posts, "I'm struggling with motivation today, feeling lost." Can anyone relate? That's weak vulnerability. It signals I need you to fix my emotions. I'm dependent on external validation. I'm stuck in my feelings with no path forward. Creator B posts, 3 years ago I was homeless. Sleeping in my car. I made 5 specific mistakes. Number 1, I quit my job without savings. Number 2, I trusted a business partner I barely knew. Number 3, I didn't have a backup plan. Here's what I learned and how I rebuilt to 6 figures. That's strategic. It signals I've been through hell and came out stronger. Here's the map if you're in a similar situation. Follow these steps to avoid my mistakes. Why does this work? Because humans are wired. For story, not sermon. The alpha posture is a sermon. Be like this, do this, never do that. Buy my course. It's one-directional broadcasting. Strategic vulnerability is a story. I was here in the pit. I did this and failed. I adjusted and did this other thing. It worked. Then this happened. Stories create trust because they're relatable. Sermons create distance because they're prescriptive without proof. And Machiavelli understood that trust is the foundation of all sustainable influence. Fear works short-term. Trust works forever. Here's the paradox Machiavelli would love. By appearing vulnerable, you become less vulnerable. Why? Because you've already admitted your flaws. Nobody can expose you. There's no secret weakness for enemies to weaponize. Because you've shared your failures, your successes become more impressive by contrast. The comeback story is always more powerful than the overnight success myth. Because you've asked for help publicly, community forms and becomes loyal. Because they were part of your journey, not just spectators of your highlight reel. The alpha who never admits weakness? One scandal destroys him completely. His entire brand evaporates overnight. The strategically vulnerable man already told you about his scandals. He's immunized through honesty. He's cancel-proof through confession. Let me show you this in action. I won't name names, but you know this pattern. You've seen it play out a dozen times. Massive creator, millions of followers. Alpha posturing, never showed weakness. Constant flex. Designer clothes, private jets, perfect relationship, perfect body, perfect life. Then, one mistake exposed. One scandal. Maybe financial fraud. Maybe infidelity. Maybe fake credentials. One human moment caught on camera. Audience turned instantly, viciously. Why? Because the entire brand was I'm perfect. I never fail. I'm better than you. When that illusion cracked, there was nothing underneath. No foundation of genuine connection. Just a parasocial relationship based on aspiration that turned to resentment the moment the mask fell. Compare that to this guy. Built his brand on I failed a business, lost everything, went bankrupt, relationship fell apart, hit rock bottom. Here's how I rebuilt. Then he had another failure. Public, embarrassing, a product launch that flopped, money lost, reputation damaged. His audience's reaction? Yeah, we knew you weren't perfect. You told us that from day one. What did you learn this time? Tell us. The new lessons? The failure didn't destroy him. It reinforced his brand. It proved his authenticity. That's strategic vulnerability creating anti-fragility. He gets stronger from chaos because chaos is expected in his narrative. After 50 hours, I found 3 patterns in the successful vulnerable creators. Pattern 1. They control the narrative. They share their failures first, before anyone can expose them, before the rumors start, before the screenshots surface. They own their story completely. Machiavelli would call this preemptive honesty. You eliminate ammunition from your enemies by publicly claiming what they might use against you. Pattern 2. They show growth, not stagnation. They don't cry about the same problem for months on end. That's victim mentality. They show here was the problem 6 months ago. Here's what I tried. This failed. Then I tried this. It worked. Here's where I am now. It's a journey with forward motion. Pattern 3. They maintain boundaries. They share specific struggles, not every insecurity. They're vulnerable about what they choose when they choose, for strategic reasons. It's controlled. It's calculated. It's Machiavellian in the truest sense. Here's the metric that convinced me this works. Audience retention through controversy. When an alpha creator faces criticism or scandal, their audience fragments. Half defend blindly without thinking, half turn and attack with equal intensity. The community civil wars. When a strategically vulnerable creator faces criticism, their audience unifies. They circle the wagons. Why? Because they've already built trust through honesty. They've already admitted imperfection as part of the brand, so criticism doesn't land with the same force. It's expected. It's manageable. The audience has already accepted your humanity, so attacks on your humanity bounce off. But here's the question you're probably asking right now. Okay, so should I start crying on camera? Should I make a sobbing apology video? Should I share every struggle? No, absolutely not. That's missing the entire point. Let me show you exactly how to apply this without looking weak, without destroying your authority, without becoming a therapy session. Here are Machiavelli's rules for strategic vulnerability in 2025. Rule 1. Only share what you've overcome. Never complain about present struggles as if you're helpless. Never post from the pit asking for rescue. Share past battles you won. I used to struggle with X. I was broke. I was fat. I was alone. Here's the exact process I used to fix it. That's power. I'm struggling with X right now. I don't know what to do. Please help me. That's weakness. The difference is temporal. Past and resolved equals strength. Present and unresolved equals fragility. Rule 2. Vulnerability must have utility. Don't share feelings for the sake of feelings or catharsis. This isn't your diary. This isn't therapy. Share them if they teach something. Concrete and actionable. I felt afraid before this business decision. That's useless to your audience. I felt afraid before this business decision. Did it anyway despite the fear. Here's exactly what happened, and here's the framework I used to act despite fear. That's valuable. That's transferable. Machiavelli cared about outcomes, not emotions. Your vulnerability should too. Every vulnerable moment should contain a lesson, a principle, or a tactic someone else can apply. Rule 3. Control the frequency. Strategic vulnerability loses all power when it's constant. If every video is, here's my struggle, here's my pain, here's my trauma, you're not strategic. You're just struggling publicly. You're a mess, not a mentor. The pattern I found in successful creators who use this well. 70% tactical content, how to do X, step by step, concrete, actionable. 20% philosophical content, why X matters, the deeper principles, the bigger picture. 10% vulnerability, content. I failed at X, here's what I learned, here's how I fixed it. That 10% hits infinitely harder because it's rare, it's unexpected, it breaks the pattern and therefore captures full attention. And here's when to never use vulnerability. Never during a power play. If you're negotiating a deal, competing for a position, or establishing authority in a new environment, zero vulnerability. Stone face, pure competence, never about core competence. If your brand is, I teach fitness, never admit you can't stick to a diet. If your brand is, I teach business, never admit you're bad with money. Admit you suck at cooking, sure. Admit you're terrible at video games, fine, but never your main thing. Never the pillar of your expertise. Never seeking validation. Did I do the right thing is weak. Do you think I should have done this is weak? I did this. It worked or it failed. Here's why. Here's what I learned. That's strong. It's declarative, not questioning. Here's how you know if your vulnerability is strategic or just weakness. Ask yourself this before you share anything personal. Does this make me look stronger or weaker after I share it? If stronger, because you overcame it, because you learned from it, because you grew through it, strategic, share it. If weaker, because you're asking for rescue, because you're seeking sympathy, because you're stuck in victimhood, just weakness. Don't share it. Process it privately. Work through it. Then share it later when you've won. Machiavelli would approve of the first approach completely. He'd destroy you for the second without hesitation. Now let me tell you what this is really about at the deepest level. This isn't about choosing alpha or beta. Those are internet labels. They're marketing categories created to sell courses and coaching. This is about adaptation to environment. Machiavelli's core principle: the prince who cannot adapt to changing times will fail. In 2015, alpha posturing adapted perfectly to the environment. It was countercultural. It was rebellious. It was needed. In 2025, strategic vulnerability adapts to the environment. Everyone's doing alpha. Nobody's doing honest. In 2030, something completely different will work. The winners aren't those who rigidly follow one strategy forever. They're the ones who read the room, sense the shift, and adapt before the masses catch on. So here's your action plan. This week, try this experiment. Share one specific past failure you overcame. Not vague, not current, not ongoing. Past and overcome. Include these elements. What you did wrong. Be specific. What it cost you. Real numbers. Real consequences. What you learned. The principle extracted. How you fixed it. The exact steps. Watch how people react. I guarantee you'll get more engagement, deeper comments, and stronger trust than any Alpha Flex post. Any Lamborghini photo, any gym mirror selfie. Test it, measure it. Adapt based on results. Let me give you the complete framework now. When you decide to use strategic vulnerability, follow this exact structure. First, set the context. Don't just say I failed. Say I was trying to achieve X. I believed Y would work based on this reasoning. This shows you had a plan, you had logic, you're not aimless. Second, describe the specific action. I did Z on this date. Be concrete. Numbers, dates, exact decisions, real names if possible. Vagueness signals you're making it up or hiding something. Third, show the immediate consequence. It cost me this much money. This relationship ended. I lost this opportunity. I faced this humiliation. Real stakes create real lessons. Fourth, explain what you learned. Not some generic be-yourself wisdom. Not some fortune cookie nonsense. Specific tactical insight. I learned that when negotiating, whoever speaks first about price loses leverage. I learned that partnerships without written agreements always fail. That's useful. That's concrete. Fifth, demonstrate how you applied the lesson. Then 6 months later, I used this principle in situation A and got result B. This proves you actually learned, not just talked about learning. It shows transformation, not just acknowledgement. Here's what most people get wrong. They share the failure, but not the recovery. So it just seems like complaining. Or they share the recovery but make it sound easy. So it seems fake or unrelatable. Neither works. The power is in showing both. The struggle plus the solution. The fall plus the climb. The wound plus the scar. Machiavelli studied leaders who fell and rose again throughout history. The ones who survived weren't those who never fell. Everyone falls. They were those who fell, learned specific lessons, and returned stronger with a clear map others could follow. That's the pattern of resilient power. Think about vulnerability as a currency. If you spend it constantly, it becomes worthless. Inflation destroys value. If you never spend it, you can't build the trust needed for real influence. You're too distant, too perfect, too inhuman. The art is in strategic deployment. You're building a reputation bank account. 90% of your deposits are competence, results, tactical value, wins, solutions. 10% are authentic struggles overcome. That ratio maintains respect while building connection. Flip that ratio, and you're just a victim with a camera. Maintain that ratio, and you're a mentor with humanity. Now let's talk about the psychological mechanism behind why this works at a neurological level. When someone presents as perfect, flawless, never struggling, our brains do two things automatically. First, we don't relate. We can't see ourselves in their story. They're too far removed from our experience. Second, we wait for the crack. We become skeptical. We look for the facade to break. We want to find the flaw. This is exhausting for both sides. The perfect person has to maintain the illusion constantly. One slip destroys everything. The audience never fully trusts because they're always looking for the lie. When someone shares strategic vulnerability, the dynamic flips entirely. We relate immediately. Oh, they're human. They've struggled like me. They understand what it's like to fail. And we stop waiting for the crack because they already showed us the cracks, and more importantly, how they repaired them. This creates psychological safety. The audience relaxes, defenses lower, trust forms faster and deeper. Machiavelli understood that fear and love are both tools of power. But love builds more stable rule, long term. However, he also knew that love without respect is worthless. That's why the vulnerability must be strategic, must be controlled. You share the wound, but you also show the scar tissue. You show you survived and adapted. This creates respect through resilience while maintaining the connection that comes from shared human experience. It's the optimal combination. The alpha strategy isn't dead because it's morally wrong. Machiavelli didn't care about morality. It's dead because everyone's doing it. Strategic vulnerability isn't right because it's virtuous. It's right because it's currently underutilized. In a market saturated with fake invincibility, controlled honesty is the differentiator. Machiavelli didn't care about right or wrong. He cared about what works in the current environment. And in 2025, in a sea of alpha posturing, controlled strategic vulnerability works. The so-called weak men figured this out before the self-proclaimed alphas. The question is, will you adapt before the next wave does? Will you be early to the shift or late to the party? If this changed how you think about power and vulnerability, about strength and honesty, about what actually works versus what we're told should work, let me know. Drop a comment about whether you've ever used strategic vulnerability, and if it worked. I read every single one, and I respond to most. Remember, Machiavelli's greatest insight wasn't be ruthless. It wasn't be cruel. It wasn't dominate at all costs. It was be effective, study what works, adapt to the environment, and sometimes, effectiveness looks like weakness to those who don't understand strategy. Until you realize it's the sharpest blade in the room, hidden in plain sight.